So roll call, we have myself, Karen, Daryl, Alice, Larry, and Karen, Casey. So that's 6 commissioners, and we have Chris here. So we'll elevate Chris to voting status. So we have the 7 now.
I'm here, Wes.
Shelby's there.
Oh, Shelby, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, I'm sorry, Shelby. I didn't see you on the.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So we have 7 commissioners that are present. All right. Reading and approval of minutes, February 8th. Has everyone read those minutes? Somebody like to move that we pass those minutes? Have any corrections?
Wes, this is Alice. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 8th.
Thank you, Daryl.
I second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any other items? All in favor, signify by raising your hand for approval. Okay. Minutes are passed. Public communications. Anyone in the audience that has something to bring before the commission that's not on the agenda? All right, so hearing none, let's move into old business. The first item is a public hearing. And to say, as we always do, that this session is being audio recorded, just like every other P&Z Commission meeting. Please be advised that today we're also recording the video as well. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will keep video of themselves on throughout the meeting. During public hearing, all normal rules, including stating and spelling your name, apply. Please use a chat feature to raise your hand to speak, and you will be recognized. Okay, our first application is the Victorian Kent LLC, and let me read into the minutes the legal notice. Town of Kent Planning and Zoning shall hold a public hearing via Zoom meeting on Thursday, March 14th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. to discuss and possibly act on application 126-23SP and 127-23C, 81 Victorian Kent LLC, 81 North Main Street, map 19, block 15, lot 5. Change of use to bed and breakfast per 3134.5. Any corresponding documentation will be attached to the agenda, which can be found on the town's website. At this hearing, all persons may participate and be heard. Signed, Wesley Warwick, Chairman. All right. So as I understand, this application applies only to the front building. And there's no work or change of anything to the rear building, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is John McPhee, and that's correct.
Yeah, that's terrific. John, what you might do, I was having a little trouble following what you're asking for. Would you mind for the commission to go through what you're proposing here?
Yeah, sure. So we bought this property a little over 2 years ago. And there's actually two separate buildings on the parcel, although it's been condominiumized years ago. So the back has 8 apartment units that are rented month by month to residents, that live and work in town. And then the front, for many years, operated as a boarding house or a B&B, and under 2 different owners prior to us acquiring it. And at different times, I think they operated under different zoning ordinances. We didn't realize, I believe it's currently zoned, the front building, which is a 1880s, say, Victorian, is actually zoned as a boarding house. And under the boarding house rules, there's a limit that you can only have 6 paying guests. And we have 5 bedrooms. So we looked at a number of different alternatives, including whether we should zone as a hotel, but because it's in, I think it's VC1 type
Yeah.
area,
Right.
right?
It's-
That's not a possibility. Across the street where we're in VC2 with the Firefly Inn, that's a different area. So we, talked through it with staff and thought the best alternative was to rezone as a B&B. And that's really how it's operated for probably 20 years. Maybe somebody else in town knows exactly how long, but probably somewhere in that, in that frame, time frame. So we're just trying to make this conform with what the zoning rules are.
So this is for short-term guests.
Yes,
So in effect, it's a hotel is a bed and breakfast is lodging short-term.
and we have a full-time manager who lives on premises. So there is a cottage that's attached by a breezeway. So it's officially part of the Victorian building.
Right.
That's, on the back of the property, between the apartments and the street. But that's actually an attached dwelling. And our plan is to legally collapse that part of the condominium. So it was 3 units, number 9, 10, and 11. And we would make it just number 9 for the whole Victorian and the attached manager's unit.
So I guess where I started to lose focus is a condominium. I hear bed and breakfast and then condominium together in the same sentences. So currently it's a condominium.
It's the legal structure.
It's a legal ownership, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, the ownership is as a condominium. It'll
Right.
be operated as a bed and breakfast.
I see.
And
Okay.
it will be a single unit condominium, right? So it will only be one condominium that's operated as a bed and breakfast.
So Ty, the fact that it's a condominium, that's a form of ownership, doesn't really concern us, right?
Guess that's an interesting question. I don't think I ran across anything in the regulations that said otherwise.
Right. So there's no exterior alterations proposed, right? This is just simply a change of status of the use of the building.
That's correct.
And Ty, the issue that I understand here is the fact that there's not, is it owner versus a manager? that's a concern?
So, in speaking with Attorney Kelly, who represents Mr. McPhee, they believe that as part of the LLC, their manager, is their owner representation on the property. And just to back up to answer your, question about the condominium,
Yep.
just quickly looking at 3134.5. And it says within an owner occupied single family dwelling. So I don't know. It is a really good question, Wes.
Right.
It does say it in the regulations.
Well, it's still a single family dwelling.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't refer to how it's owned. I don't think.
I-
Shelby,
It's not something I thought of.
Shelby, can you respond to that? Do you have any idea?
No, I think you are right. It's one dwelling. And the condominium has to do with form of ownership of the building as opposed to its purpose as a B&B.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're right that the fact that it is a condominium shouldn't make a difference.
Right.
Can I ask a question quick? Isn't it two buildings we're talking about, the cottage and the Victorian?
So the
There-
cottage is actually attached. So
Okay.
it essentially becomes, there's like an overhang that attaches the two. So it essentially is part of that structure. When you talk to the building official or anybody else, really, even the zoning regulations say that attachment constitutes part of the actual structure.
Okay.
And that's where the innkeeper is going to live,
She does live there currently, yes,
and she will remain living there.
yes.
I was kind of confused by the language too, and I'm just doing this from memory. It seemed like you were calling the bedrooms condominiums. Did I misread that? You said you were going from 6 condominiums to 5 condominiums.
So, no, what we said was we were going from 11 to 9. So there's a separate building in the back of the property.
In the back.
Were
Mhm.
apartments that were built in the 1980s. So those will, even though we own all of the condominium units, those will remain as condominium units. The front building has already been condensed. We just need to, I guess, make it official in the condominium records from 3 condominium units. And we're proposing that we collapse that so that the cottage, which is attached to the main house, which is the old Victorian, at some point there was an apartment carved out of that was a separate condominium. And then there's the main part of the Victorian. We're saying all 3 of those will become unit 9, and unit 10 and 11 will go away.
So what you were
And-
saying was, I think, that each room was a condominium. Is that?
No,
No. Okay.
so
I think it's the use of condominiums that become very
confusing, sure.
confusing. Yeah.
So I understand it was a condominium because of the 2 buildings in the back, the cottage and the Victorian house, common ownership of the 3 buildings, but it's only the Victorian front property that is going to be devoted to the B&B.
That's absolutely correct. And at one point, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, there were separate owners of these condominium units. And then they were assembled, and we bought it from somebody who had assembled it. So we own all of the condominium units.
All right.
And are you reducing the number of bedrooms in the main house?
We did when we did the remodel a year ago. So 1 bedroom went away. So it went from 6 to 5.
Okay. So you're one under the 6-bedroom maximum for bed and breakfast.
That's correct.
So aside from parking, which is another story we'll get into, Ty, do you see anything that, aside the case from the manager that they're discuss? I mean, you know, Lord knows we need more space for overnight guests here in
Yeah,
town.
the only outstanding issue that I found, so the parking requirements, when I originally did my staff report, were an issue, and they've revised their site plan to accommodate the parking requirements. The clarification of the cottage and the floor area and the use of the cottage has been remedied, and that all meets the requirements of zoning.
Right.
The only outstanding issue is the permission from the sewer commission, which I understand their meeting is not taking place until next week.
Okay.
19.
So that was the one item that we were not able to bring together before this meeting.
But we could condition any approval on the approval of the sewer commission.
You could if you'd like.
Okay. All right, well, I personally don't have any issue with the manager as qualifying for our bed and breakfast requirement. As to parking, I actually went over there like an hour ago and walked it. It seems, you know, there's about 31 spaces. Is that correct? Did I count that correct?
Yeah, it might be 29, but you're really close.
Yeah. Which seems adequate to me. At that count, because I did physically count 31. And there's really more space if you really wanted to, because that driveway is really very wide. So there's a couple of spots where parallel parking could work. I mean, to me, as unusual for Kent, there seems to be a lot of parking.
Do we need to talk about holding special events there or anything like that? I mean, is that
John, is that contemplated?
You know, what we've said is people can have a birthday party there. We've had two, somebody's 90th, and then they came back for his 91st. They had a really good time, but I don't think they caused a lot of problems.
So that's within the house itself, right?
It's all within the house. There really isn't a lot of outdoor space there. And again, we have tenants in the back who, we obviously have to be respectful to them as well as the other neighbors. So it's operated this way, like I said, for 20 years. And we've owned it for a year, and zero issues.
Right. So of course, one person could book all 5 rooms and then use it as a place for an event.
They can, but we have, if you book the entire house, we have a very specific agreement that says you're not allowed to have amplified music. You can't be outside after 10 o'clock at night, right? Because obviously we want to keep the character of the town. It's very important to us. So,
All right.
And Kelly's there. I mean, she's 6 feet away from the house, right? I mean, she has a glass door from her house into the glass door of the kitchen. So, there's not much going on that we don't know about.
All right. So does anyone in the public would like to speak to this application?
I just had one point, Wes. I don't have an issue with the operation as outlined, but I think we do need to realize that we're making a pretty big change to a very basic definition of what a bed and breakfast is. It's owner occupied. So we're basically setting the precedent that an employee satisfies the same intent of having an owner in the house is. Is that what we're comfortable with?
I suppose that we are. That's true. But it's it's a very tightly, and again, this is a special permit, and it's very site specific. The owner lives across the street. It's managed. I don't know that it sets a precedent for every application.
I'd just like to say something. I recall that there was a request, and I meant to ask Ty about this earlier today, but I believe that one of the previous owners, we granted permission for them not to have to live on the premises when he was running. I don't know if it was a B&B or an inn, but it's similar. And the gentleman lived on the Cobble Road in Kent. And we granted him permission at that time to not be required to live on the premises. And that's why I was a little surprised by this. I thought that was already established.
I can speak to that. If you look under the staff report, under the property history, under the boarding house definition, actually Mike Ziska had outlined the 3 possible uses, and one of them was live elsewhere and lease the parcel to no more than 6 individuals as a boarding house. So that's where that came from. That wasn't as a result of a bed and breakfast, though. It was the old boarding house use.
So, but we were willing to grant that. And so really the only change here is the change of the classification of the property from boarding house to B&B. Am I correct?
Right, and with that, he'll be allowed to have more people there. So it was limited to six individuals.
Right.
So with the bed and breakfast, it allows him to have more than 6 individuals on the site.
Yeah, because a room could have 2 or 3.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the responsibility of the owner to reside there or not. And I don't think it should be a requirement if he has, well, we gotta follow the regulations, but I thought we had changed that, but I have it in my head wrong. It was because it was a boarding house. Okay, thank you.
Well, in fact, the owner here is an entity, not a human, who could live there. And I think the original concept of a B&B started with someone opening up his or her home to others for breakfast and overnight. And it made sense for the owner to be there. But as entities become more and more property owners, it may require some adjustments to this requirement in the regs.
Shelby, that was Attorney Kelly's point as well.
Yeah. I think all attorneys, they think alike.
Ty, was the square footage for the Victorian house, was that taken care of? I can't seem to pull up the piece of paperwork that I had the other day when I was looking this through. But the one plan that showed, I can't seem to find it. I don't know where it is. I'm missing a couple things. I'm missing the staff report, and but I was looking at these the other day. But the one plan that showed the building itself, it was very unclear to me exactly how it was laid out, how they got the 5 bedrooms, which floor was which. I didn't understand it very well at all. Some of the bedrooms, I think, were labeled as owner occupied. So I didn't understand the plan at all. It wasn't very clear. The other plan is super clear. The parking plan is very, very clear. I mean, it shows every little bush and nook and cranny. But the other plan that I can't seem to put my hands on right now was very unclear where the 5 bedrooms were, exactly how much space was taken up by them. But I guess you were able to conclude that that's 40% or less.
Yeah, I mean, I had some questions as it related to the cottage, but an architect had done those calculations, and then it was later confirmed by Attorney Kelly that the cottage, because the original statement, actually, the statement had been revised. It was a little bit unclear as to whether that cottage was going to be occupied by a guest or not.
Mhm.
So that made it concerning, but once it was clarified that it would be the LLC member, occupying the cottage, they met the regulations. I think I
Okay.
might have that here somewhere. Did you want me to share the screen? It is very small, so I don't know if it would help you much, but
Yeah, and it was just totally undescript. I mean, it was pretty poor. So that's why I had questions on it.
yeah.
Other than that, the other thing I have is, has anyone talked to emergency services about access to all the buildings at all times? You know, are they going to be able to get in the back portion of the building, you know, the back condos, if one of the back condos is on fire, are they going to be able to get a fire truck into the back area there if all the parking lots are full?
So Chris, I hope that was addressed and should have been addressed when they constructed the back building. Of course, the Victorian has always been there.
That could be why those parking areas in the back are so vast. I mean, it's such a big area. Like you said before, Wes, that you could put more parking places in that back area. It seems so big, but it could be that way for emergency services. But I'm just wondering if anybody talked to emergency services about that.
Well, again, the back building is not in the application. It's really just the front. And it's only a change of use. It's not, there's no additions or alterations or anything proposed here. Didn't seem to me that there was any access problem, but that's me.
Yeah, no, and I can tell you just from a practical standpoint that we have, I believe they're called Knox boxes that the fire department has keys to. So, and they unfortunately, right, with people cooking in condominiums, they've been out there and there's no access problem. They've probably been out there a few more times than they would like. That's from the back condominiums and somebody frying bacon and setting off. We have a commercial fire alarm system. And Stan McMillan, Mr. McMillan's inspected this Victorian. There was, I think we have to have a pole alarm installed just to meet fire code. But there is a state-of-the-art fire system in that house that we put in.
All right. Again, is there anyone in the audience that has to speak on this application? All right, here, seeing none, are we at a point that we could close the public hearing?
I do believe that they asked for waivers, so I mean, as long as you're satisfied, with, you don't need any additional information to be able to accept those waivers.
I didn't have any issue with the waivers. Anyone else? So I think maybe we could close a public hearing and move on to a decision. Somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing on application 126-23 SP and 127-23 C, 81 Victorian Kent LLC, 81 North Main Street.
Thank you, Daryl.
I'll second the motion, Wes.
Thanks, Carol. All right, any more discussion on this? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, close the public hearing at 7:30. So let's move on to deliberation. I had you know, I suppose that the issue is whether or not a manager can substitute for an owner in this case. Now, in my mind, again, this is a special permit. Special permits are very site specific. The fact that the owner is across the street is a different story than an owner that lives in Seattle and trying to operate this with the manager. So it feels good to me.
Does the owner live across the street?
John, aren't you?
No, we own the property across the street. We live up in New Milford. but
Oh,
we-
okay. Okay, I beg your pardon. Was there any items on Ty's list? I don't believe that that requiring fencing or berms or vegetation or any of that is applicable, and it's nicely done right now. It's actually a very village house. It's on the street. Off-street parking. Again, I don't think there's any neighborhood compatibility issues. Or it's not suitable for its use. I believe that that's true. There are no improvements. Doesn't seem to have any nuisance involved. John addressed the issue with occasional parties that they have their own requirements in place. But again, we have to make sure that this Kent Sewer does not have any issues. I'm sure they won't, but we can condition approval on that. Does anyone else have any other concerns?
I'm comfortable with this in the realm of the special permit and the discussions we've had. I just would like to state that I don't think that forming an LLC to control a B&B should be seen as a way to sidestep the intention of having it be owner occupied in future cases.
Okay.
I guess I'm still stuck on the classification of the property. If we were allowing this for an owner not having to live in the property under a boarding house, why in heaven's name would we not agree to do it for a B&B? I don't understand why we're hung up on that. I think it should be permitted. It was previously.
But our definition is specific. It has to be owner occupied. If we want to get rid of that definition.
Well, what I mean is I agree with you on that, Daryl, that it's a special permit and it's a special situation. How is it that, well, yeah, okay, I keep getting myself caught on that, but in my opinion, if it seems most fair to have, if we were allowing this under a boarding house, which I think probably has even less so-called control, we should, in my opinion, allow this special permit for a B&B. They're almost identical uses in reality. That's just my thought.
Well, in light of Kent as well, we are in real need in this town for places for overnight guests. So there's a difference between that and a boarding house. I think more appropriate is the use of rooms for let overnight or whatever time period.
So just for clarification purposes, the boarding house as defined by Mike Ziska was a pre-existing non-conforming condition and definition. The boarding house in today's regulations does say own family occupied. So in both cases, in today's regulations, bed and breakfast and boarding house does have to have an owner. I just checked. So the definition is a single family dwelling in which an owner resides and in which rooms may be let and board may be furnished to not more than 6 individuals in addition to the owner's family. So that's the current definition. So you're consistent between the two in your current regulations. It's just that the issue was that this was a pre-existing, I mean, it had been a boarding house a long time ago under old regulation.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate the clarification.
Ty, just one question about that. You said 6 what did you say? 6?
So, I mean, again, this is today's regulation for boarding house is not more than 6 individuals in addition to the owner's family.
Okay, so that's for boarding house. That's not for B&B.
No, the definition for B&B is a single family dwelling in which the owner resides and in which sleeping accommodations and breakfast, but no other meals may be provided for guests for compensation. So that's the definition, but there's a whole list of criteria as well under bed and breakfast that it was spelled out in the staff report.
Thank you.
This is Alice. I'm sorry I'm not video,
Alice.
but in listening to this, it seems that we are kind of hung up. We got too many words for the same thing or too many names for almost the same thing. I was struck at the very beginning that we're calling things condominiums. I didn't know there were any condominiums in sort of single family houses, so to speak. So I think we should be pretty careful on mixing up a boarding house with a B&B. And that seems where we're kind of, a boarding house means somebody lives there a long time, I think. I mean, I don't know a proper definition of it. And what we really want to be sure we're addressing is that this is not a full-time resident. Is that not the case? I mean, that's why we have an owner occupancy. I don't know if I'm asking the right question or just making it more confusing.
I think that the issue between the condominiums and what they're trying to do as a B&B now is it was condominiums before.
Right.
So there is a building behind all of the Victorian building and the cottage, which is attached to the Victorian building, that is a condominium. It's going to stay a condominium. It's an 8. There are 8 portions of that building that are, 8 condominium units. There were 3 in the front. I think you could correct me, John, if you want to, but I think there were 3 before. And then the cottage was where whoever took care of everything was living in the cottage. And when they redid the Victorian and took out the 3 condos that were in there, he's calling it, they want to call it 9 condominiums now. So we have the 8 in the back that are going to stay. And then the front one would become basically the 9th condominium but would run as a B&B. Is that correct, John?
That is, and it encompasses the cottage, right? So the cottage was number 9. There was a unit that was above the garage, which was unit 10. And then there was the front Victorian, which was unit 11. So, and all of those will be condensed in our condominium, refiling with the state to make it one. But again, we own currently all 11 units. So it's just, we don't have to have a vote, right? Like I have all the votes.
Is Larry with us? I see his name, but I have not heard from him. Larry, are you present? I think he's probably not. Ty, do you know if I see
He's,
his
I mean,
name, I
he's
don't-
showing on the screen, but there's no,
No.
I'm assuming if he's not responding, he's not present.
All right, all right. So are we prepared to at least make a motion and then discuss? Would someone like to make a motion on this application?
Would you like to accept the waivers first?
Oh, yes, I would. Ty, could you read those again?
Was, from what I can tell, they're only requesting the A2 survey waivers, the only one that was circled, which is number, where's it at? 3.
Well, there's no change to the property.
Mhm.
Seems that we could waive that.
I make a motion to accept the waivers as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Ann. All in favor of accepting the waivers? Okay. motion
I'm
carries.
sorry. Yeah, Anne can't second that. She's not been elevated.
Ah,
That's done.
Chris,
Sorry.
right. I'm sorry, Ann. No, I
Sorry,
thought
Donna.
Larry was here. Well,
I'll second it.
okay.
So I don't vote, right? Either.
Not on this, this motion.
Okay.
Oh, now you can hear me.
All right. There's Larry.
Sorry, I had it clicked off.
Have you been listening to this?
Yes, I've been here the whole time. Yes,
You have. All right.
yes.
All right. So a waiver has been accepted. Do I hear a motion on this application?
See it here. Change it.
Well, we can't go anywhere without a motion.
I move to accept the application for the Victorian house. Do I need to give you the number of the application?
Mhm.
Need to find it again.
It's 12623 SP and 12723C.
All right, I move to accept the applications as just identified by Ty.
Yeah, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Larry. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, motion carries. All right,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
you're welcome, John. All right. Moving on to application 6B.1. Andreas Boker.
Wes, I'm gonna need to recuse myself for this one.
Okay, all right.
Thank
So Anne will elevate you as an alternate. Is Andreas here to present? This is in-ground pool.
Hi, Andreas is not, but my name is Jeff Anderson with Litchfield County Pools.
Yes, how are you, Jeff?
Good, thanks.
Oh, there you are. The beauty of Zoom, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't know if you were going to read the whole thing first or if you wanted me to just go.
Well, this is not a public hearing.
Okay, so
you
it's
did-
just a Horizon Line question.
Yep.
Basically, we're here for the installation of an in-ground gunite pool, 14 by 60. There's as far as the Horizon Line, I don't think there's much really that gets affected. No trees are being taken down. The only lights that we have are in the pool itself. I think that's basically it. I mean, it's I was out there yesterday. It's pretty much an open field that we're installing this pool in. So as far as Horizon intrusion, I don't think something in the ground is really going to affect much.
It's not an imposition on the horizon, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any trees being removed?
No, none.
This, okay.
Is there a fence?
This pool has an automatic cover. So by code, it doesn't need a fence. There is no plan for a fence right now that I know of. They don't need it, but in the future they might, but at this point there is none.
How far away from the house is the pool?
Roughly probably about I would say 50 feet or so to the first corner.
And there'll be no lights.
The lights will be in the pool itself, but no no landscape lighting or anything. The equipment will be located behind the garage. So basically kind of centered in the property, so it's not anywhere near any of the property lines.
The pool is completely behind the house.
It's kind of off to the side. If you're facing the front of the house, it's a little bit off to the right in the open yard there.
No enclosure for equipment?
The equipment itself will be right on the back of the garage, so there won't be an enclosure per se.
So there's 120 yards of fill that's being brought in. Is the pool being cut into the hillside to any degree, or is it going to be filled all around it?
No, I think the 120 yards is actually what we'd actually take out of the pool, and that'll be just deposited around just to fill in after. It's pretty flat there. Just as a note, the lights themselves that are in the pool are the very small LEDs. They're 12 watts each and only 20 lumens at their max. There'll probably be 5 or so in the pool itself.
20 lumens is a very low level.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
I'm never good at this stuff. Is 50 feet a long ways to walk in the dark?
I mean, there's probably the lights from the house itself. I don't think it's that far. Not in the summertime anyway.
Ty, did you have anything else on this?
The only thing that I should note, I did add an addendum to the staff report. Kathy just yesterday reached out and said that she would not be approving the application for the pool until the lot line. So at one point, I think in the 80s, this lot was divided. And they didn't go through the proper channels to divide it and get the approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission and from the Health Department. And as a result, the septic ended up on the vacant property, the other property, not the one that the pool and the house will be on. So she's requiring that lot line be removed. The owner reached out to me today and said, what do I need to do to get that done? So it sounds like they are willing to remove it. It's not an issue for them. So I think that they're not going to get a health department approval until they remove it. So I don't know that it's so much of a big problem for you. If you approve it, that's fine. They're not getting an approval from Torrington Area Health until that lot line is gone. So,
But it's really not.
I just thought that I just thought that you should be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, the notification that we got was that they're working on that right now, and basically once that line is finished, they'll sign right off on it. It had nothing to do really with us.
Yep. I agree.
I make a motion to approve application 02-24C, Andreas Boker, 41 Jennings Road for an in-ground pool within Horizon Line, subject to the properties being remerged to the satisfaction of Torrington Area Health.
Nice. I'll second that.
Thanks, Larry. All right, any further discussion? Let's see, we have waivers, right? Ty?
Most likely. So I have 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Do you see any issue with that, Ty? On those waivers?
And it sounds like you had sufficient information to make a decision.
Right. So do we need to waive them?
I make a motion to accept the waivers as listed.
Larry, you want to concur with that?
Yes, I'll second that. Sorry.
Great. All in favor of accepting the waivers? All right, now back to the application. Daryl has already stated his application, Larry has seconded. This is on the application. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion approved. Okay, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, application 03-24C, Allison, I'm sorry, Kuharski?
Kuharski,
Yeah, thank you.
pretty close. Hi.
Allison, would you like to talk to this?
Sure. I live on the corner of Cobble and 341. My property currently covers 2 lots. And I would like to put this 16 by 16 structure on the rear lot. And contingent on your approval, fingers crossed, I will basically combine the lots because I understand that you can't build something on a lot without a main structure or house.
Right.
And the intent of the structure is kind of a pavilion, a destination. Currently, it's all clear back there. I had given Ty a photo. I'm surrounded by trees. The photo, actually, you could see the house behind me, but my intention is to plant some sort of redwood, fast-growing trees along that property line, so that is blocked. The orientation of the building, if you have the drawings in front of you, I think there's, on the very first sheet, there's kind of an axio drawing showing that there's one side of the 4-sided structure that has all windows. That would actually be facing southeast. So my rear neighbor wouldn't even see anything going on inside of it. So it's facing my house, basically. There's no water, sewers, septic. The only thing I do want to pull back there is electric and Wi-Fi. And that would be from the house. There's no intention for outdoor lighting. There's no intention for like a determined pathway, since it's kind of a neat little thing in the field. It is in a clearing, so the moonlight over here is really fabulous at night. And what else can I tell you? And I believe I'm just like at the corner of this horizon line. So I'd appreciate your consideration.
Right. So it's a considerable distance from Cobble Road and 341.
Yes.
It looks like I can't totally read my print of my site plan, but it looks like 300 feet at least from Cobble Road.
That's correct. And about 250 from 341.
Right. And it's slightly higher, isn't it? There's quite a bit of grade.
Yes, where it's located, it's basically on a flat, kind of like the ridge, let's say, behind the house.
Right.
This is flatter, and then it slopes off to both Cobble and 341.
Right.
And it's quite wooded on the south side, which is owned by that person behind me. And I mean, probably in the winter, you can probably see a profile of the building, like the top portion of it. My intention is to paint it either some kind of dark green, dark gray, so it really contextualizes. And again, going back to the field idea, planting wise, I know I am requesting a waiver on like landscape plans, because it's really just a neat little structure that I just want someplace, a destination to go hang out back there, and I want to do it right. And so,
or I think architecturally is pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't it? It's kind of neat. This is a neat little company that's online. I've seen a number of their drawings. I personally am a retired architect, but I chose to hire these guys. It's really easy to pay someone to do these drawings now.
All right. I have driven by. I would find it pretty hard to see it from either road. It's not high, it's not large. It's not square footage. It's not. There's no exterior lighting.
No.
Although there was concern that there's glass on the south side, the interior lights you may be able to see, but I don't think that as a commission we should start getting into interior lighting.
I appreciate that.
That's my
I mean,
no, that's my.
It can't be, I mean, if indeed it was illuminated during the evening, I mean, I can actually not really see it even from the house, because the back of my house is just about a wall. All my windows face the south also. So currently, when I'm in my second bedroom studio here, and this is all glass, and my neighbor across the street, he's up the block, so no one could see me. There's I think, government property across 341. There's like a transfer electrical station. So I don't believe that's going to be an intrusion.
When you come down Cedar Mountain around the curve, you get a pretty good shot of the cobble there. So, the fact that the windows are facing southeast, that illumination will be visible from that elevation. Do you think that there's
Possibly.
enough tree cover in between
Yes.
that structure? And, you'd essentially be looking down on it, and then you drop down to the same elevation. So it would just be a glimpse, but it probably will be
Yeah.
visible from Cedar Mountain.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you've got my garage, and then there's a number of hemlocks and pines moving up that hill. So, and it's tucked farther back. So, it's a stretch, I'll say, because it's really wooded. Both the sides of the if that's the flat pad, on either side, it's quite wooded. So I mean, any more than you see my own house. I'm not sure which I hardly do anyway.
Well, I think that's a big differentiator is, it's not a full-time residence that you're living in, and it's going to be lit up from,
Right.
6 at night till 1 in the morning, presumably.
Yeah.
Well, and these are not exterior lights, dear.
Correct.
Right, but orientation of the structure and location certainly was in our purview.
Yeah. All right, so any approval that we give must be conditioned upon the removal of the property line to combine the property.
Completely. Yep, I assure you, I've already talked to the surveyor, and as soon as you all say yes, I've got him on the phone, and he's gonna document that, and I'll get that into Ty in the town.
All right, so again, there's waivers on this. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of that time. What?
2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
All right, quite a few, but most of those are landscaping and
Utilities, yeah,
Yeah.
impact, water, storm.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking any dirt out. It's gonna be conventional footings.
Right.
Ty has told me about, I gotta get my approval for the health, which is fine. I'm super clear from the septic and the well.
Well, this is not conditioned upon septic, right?
No, but it was a question on the water application. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, they won't get a building permit if they don't get approval from the health department.
Correct, okay.
Right. Right.
So this is just an accessory structure.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of accepting the waivers? Or I guess we need a motion. Somebody like to make a motion for that?
I move that we accept the waivers. Sorry.
Second.
Daryl, thank you. All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Then getting on to the application. Do I hear a motion for that?
I move if Ty, can you state the application number for me, please?
Absolutely. It's application 03-24C. 184 Cobble Road.
Second.
So Shelby makes the motion to approve.
Yes.
Somebody like to second it?
I think somebody did. I think Daryl did.
Oh, Daryl, I beg your pardon. Thank you.
I did.
All right. Then all in favor, signify by raising your hand. All right, motion approved. All right, Allison,
Woo-hoo. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and effort.
call that
and
surveyor and get,
Consideration. Sorry,
call that surveyor and get that line removed.
I am on the phone tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Good luck. Thank you.
All right. So now we're at 6B.3, Kent School. Is someone here to address this free application?
Yeah, good evening, John Bergen, Kent School.
Hi, John.
On the call with me is Jeff Cataldo, Associate Head of Schools, and Robert Segala from Segala Homes. We're looking to have our site plan adjusted from 2020 to add a triplex housing for our faculty housing. Previously, we had 6 homes approved and we've constructed 2 in 2020, and now we'd like to proceed with a triplex modular for a 3-family unit.
So John, is that in lieu of those 3 homes that I see on the site plan? It wasn't clear on the site plan exactly what
That's
you.
correct. So in lieu of the 3 homes, we would put the triplex in back of the 2 newest homes that were installed in 2020.
All right. All right. So I see the 2 site plans. It wasn't totally clear on the site plan what you're proposing. So I understand it now.
So if you see the current site plan that I submitted for 2024, it shows the structure with the triplex.
Mhm.
Ty had some questions, and that's why she recommended a pre-application conversation.
So, I mean, the application will require a modification to the special permit, a modification to the site plan, and a modification to the wetlands approval. I understand it was originally 20 homes. It was reduced to 6. They built 2, and now they want to do a 3-family. My question was, or my concern was, is that traditionally 3 families are not allowed in a rural area. That's not a permitted use. So, I mean, I would imagine that you might think of it as an accessory to the special permit for the school. But I just wanted to confirm that before Mr. Bergen and his team had to go through all the work preparing for wetlands and all the other modifications, that you would be open to the 3-family option, although that's not traditionally a permitted use.
That's an interesting question.
I mean,
we've always
if you
seen.
think of it in terms of normally 20 houses are not allowed on a single lot either. So this is, you know, in my mind, that's how I kind of rationalized it, but I didn't want to take that liberty. That's your guys.
Right, and Wes, the lot is approximately 80 acres. We currently have a total of 14 homes on it now.
Right.
I mean, I like the scale and massing of the way that housing development is set up over there. So I think it's good that you've placed it on the backside to, mitigate, any increase in, the impression of that arrangement. So I do think that it would fit in with the intended
And the
use
newer,
of the property,
the newer
and that the
modulars,
size isn't going to interrupt.
that's right. The newer homes, the two modulars that we have done, the house will be similar to that.
But bigger?
But bigger, correct. Financially, it's much easier for us to do it because we're taking 3 homes and putting it in one. And we're in a dire need for faculty housing at this point for the school. And as you know, in Kent, houses are rare, and so are rentals.
So there's actually less disruption near the river by combining this all into one unit as opposed to having 3 distinct units?
Correct. And we currently have electric and sewer and water there. And Ty, this was all approved by the wetlands previously, correct? With
It was, but the fact that you're changing it, you're gonna have to modify that approval to, whatever you end up at.
Right. And we'd apply for the special permit as well.
So
Just something to note, that is a condition of the original special permit. It does say that, this development is considered an integral part of the Kent School facility, and as such shall not be separated from the school for individual sale or use by any others outside the Kent School community. So I feel like that offers some protection for allowing a 3-family in the rural area. It'll never be allowed to be like standalone, like, other, like if it was a lot just with a 3-family on it, obviously it wouldn't be permitted. And your special permit has that condition in it where it will never be divided that way.
Correct.
So I see this area as kind of a little village of housing for Kent School. I think we crossed that bridge when we approved it many years ago. That it was appropriate. I don't see how. I agree with Daryl. It's in the rear. It's removed. I don't know that the impact could be seen. I think it's a more condensed and better use. I don't think it's changed the count. We have 3 units and you have 4 units here, but I mean,
correct.
Yeah.
Ty, do you know if there are any physical characteristics that are outside the allowed residential building in town?
I'm not sure
Like
if
height? Is the height an issue?
I don't believe so, but I have not gone into it in that detail. Do we know the height, Mr. Bergen?
It'll be even with the 2 front houses, the roof line, because it's set in a embankment kind of.
So I guess I missed the second floor plan. I see a basement plan and first floor plan, but is there a second floor to these?
Yes. there is.
Okay, I guess I just missed that plan.
Did I send it to you, Ty, or did I forget?
But I don't think it's any higher than the other.
No, it won't be because the back portion of the property is a little bit higher now by about 6 feet, and it'll be set into the embankment.
So this is a pre-application. So I think they were just looking for feedback. John, I think you've gotten some feedback. Does anyone else have anything that would be useful for them in their application? I assume that next month we'll see an application.
Well, I'm just wondering whether this would be a more appropriate case for a variance as opposed to a special permit. As Ty indicated, a 3-family dwelling is not a permitted use within this zone.
We do have that stipulation where will never be sold, or, it'll be part of the school property.
So
I like
Shelby,
the idea. I'm sorry.
are
I
you
like the
saying,
idea of increasing the open space.
Right.
Shelby, are you saying like a variance, like they would have to go through zoning board of appeals for variance? Is that what you're alluding
Yeah,
to?
yes, to allow a use that's not allowed in the regulations at this point.
So, the Kent zoning regulations with regard to ZBA, is somewhat different than some other towns. As far as use variances, I think it's only allowed in the industrial zone. They don't seem to, have a pathway. I mean, there's dimensional variances that are allowed for. It's interesting. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it, but I'm not sure that, they'd have a pathway to do that.
No, I haven't looked at it, so I think the proposal makes a lot of sense, particularly as you indicated, it involves much less disturbance to the environment. And it's certainly more cost effective building 3 units on the same footprint than building 3, taking up a whole lot more space, but making more housing available.
Correct. And the original site plan actually called for 4 houses.
Mm.
So Ty, you're saying that the special permit would be the way for them to go. This would give them a pathway.
So, I mean, it would be my how I would consider it if you were to be in agreement would be that this was an accessory to this approved use via special permit. So the faculty housing is I mean, like I said, the 20 houses alone wouldn't normally be permitted on one lot. So somewhere along the way, you've decided as a commission or a former commission has decided that this housing is an accessory to the use that you've approved. So that's the way that I see it.
Yeah, yeah. So we crossed that bridge some years ago.
Mhm.
If someone with a single lot proposed a triplex like this, fourplex, we would of course not
not
allow.
Right.
But this is this is like a planned development here.
Mhm. That's correct.
If I may just make a quick comment, I've enjoyed listening to the thinking around this point, and I think Ty has identified several critical points, not to be repetitive, but again, I think they're really important points as we think about this triplex. One is the 20 homes that have been built. I'll use your commentary, Wesley, and I think it's the correct commentary in this village. So 20 homes on a lot of land that was owned by Kent School to provide housing to faculty. That has already been established, that has already been approved, and I think working well for the school and the town. And then second, I think a really important point was that this lot or this village, if you will, is critical to the school. It's part of the school's campus. It'll be maintained and used as part of the school's campus. And this won't be a single lot in what would be a traditional residential area in town of a rural nature where you did not want to disrupt that neighborhood nature residential area with a 3-family home. That's certainly not the case. It would be done on this lot with 20 other homes. The last point, and it's one that's maybe just a bit more practical. I'm certainly not an architect in explaining the design, but I can tell you if you're looking at the plans, this will very much look like a colonial home, 3,300 square feet, no no real difference in height or width. It'll look like the aesthetics will look very much like a home that you would see in any neighborhood, yet it'll be constructed in a way where it can serve 3 families. And as John Bergen appropriately noted, very cost effective, very efficient way to add important faculty housing.
Right.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any notion that they shouldn't go ahead and make their application? All right, so there's really nothing to vote on. I think that you all have heard us here, and we invite your application.
Hey, appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much.
Have a good night.
Okay. All right. Wow. Staff report. Is there any staff report?
I just wanted to remind you that FOI training is coming up next week. It would be great if you could attend. It's an opportunity for everybody to ask questions, which is, you know, really a great thing. It's Kent. So, hopefully you can make it. Sarah had forwarded some information that she had received regarding Yukon Clear and some additional commissioner webinars. So I think you guys are all kind of familiar with that site by now. So if you're interested in getting going with some more training, you might want to go on and check that out. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know, and I think I forwarded you the court notice, but I just wanted to let you know that the petition to the Supreme Court was accepted. So it's, you know, nothing to talk about in executive session or anything. It's just, you know, an FYI kind of thing. To know that you'll be going forward with that Highwatch versus Town of Kent Planning and Zoning appeal.
So any idea of timing on that time? You probably don't
I
get
think
that.
it'll be a long process, but I don't know.
Right.
Kind of exciting. You know, so it's a big deal.
All right, so there would not be any reports of committees or officers because we don't have any at this point. And other communications, correspondence. We've seen some permits, which is great, and some certificates of compliance. I was glad to see a couple of mine on there, so that was good. All right. So we've reached that that moment in time that we can adjourn. Do I hear that motion? Oh, come on.
You mean to rush out the door?
Yeah, we turn off our computers and go home.
That kind of motion.
Okay.
Turn the computer off and go have dinner.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.